Okay, so let's just finish up with air pressure. We don't have much left. This should be a pretty short video. I just didn't have enough time to squeeze it in with the others, but maybe just 4 or 5 minutes, something like that. So as part of that large lab you had been working on, one of the things that you had to do is to map air pressure. You started out mapping air temperature and doing an isotherm map, and some of you, when I was there last, were working on the isobar map. So isobars are lines of equal pressure, and I think you guys kind of know that at this point. The interval, the standard interval on United States weather maps is 4 millibars. So in the fall when we were doing contour intervals, same concept. Here though, our isobar interval is a standard of 4 millibars between the lines. Now, we've talked a little bit about these station models before and how these represent an actual physical weather station located on the ground somewhere. And this is a simplified one. The only thing it's showing is the air pressure. And we talked about how this is coded just so that there are fewer numbers on the map. And that in reality, this would be an air pressure of 1005.3 millibar. Now, my recommendation is just to go close to 1000 with either the 9 or the 10 in front and move the decimal. That's how I do it. And I think that works really well and makes it nice and simple. However, some people prefer to do it with lots of rules and stuff. I don't really like that. It just, to me, seems more complex. But if you like lots of rules and things really concrete, maybe you'll like this better. So I'll just show it to you. But, you know, again, we're going to add either a 9 or 10. And if the original number is above 500, then you're going to put a 9 in front. If it's below 500, then you place the 10 in front. But it's just so much easier to go with whichever brings you closer to 1000. But, you know, either way is fine. And again, 053 would be 1005.3 millibars. Now, over here, on the following page, there's a weather map, and it's asking you to draw in isobars. It's another one of those maps where it just copied too small. So I went ahead and just drew the lines in at the 1004, 1008, 12, 16, and 20. And if you notice, it's a 4 millibar interval. That's standard for United States weather maps. Now it's going to tell us to mark the location of the high and to mark the location of the low. So if we go to the weather map here, this was the pattern that I had. And I know that in class, 1 or 2 of you came up to me and you were a little surprised by the shape of the pattern, especially when you had done the isotherm one before, because it's a very different pattern. But typically this is what you're going to see. A series of circles. Now, what we need to do is figure out where the high pressure is and where the low pressure is. So on this map, our highest air pressures are over here. If you decode the numbers, you're going to have your greatest values over here. So I'm going to put a large H there, and then I'm going to put a large L over here. And again, you could just kind of sketch these isobar lines, or if you can read the numbers, you could go ahead and do it. I'm more concerned that you got the concept. Now, it's not always going to work out quite this way. Sometimes the low pressure is going to be on the left. Sometimes there's going to be 3 low pressures and no high pressure on this particular map. But in this example anyway, we have a high on one side, we have a low on the other. Now, some of you were also asking me about wind on that larger weather patterns lab. And one of the things that you were supposed to do, and this isn't the same map, but it's the same idea, was to extend the line that shows wind direction. So like here I have wind coming out of like the north-northeast. I'm going to extend that line down and put an arrowhead on it. And I'm going to do the same thing going all the way around. And what I'm looking for are patterns. And what we can see around the high pressure is that it's rotating in a clockwise pattern. And that's something that we've talked about before. We're going to go into more detail on that, of course. But if we look at the low pressure and do the same thing, we can see that the winds are now going the opposite direction of the high pressure. Now they're going counterclockwise. Okay, counterclockwise. Now, if we take a look at one of the actual weather maps we've been looking at on a regular basis, one of the National Weather Service maps, we can see the 4 millibar interval. Okay, so here's 1012, there's 1008, so that's a difference of 4. That makes sense. Here's 1016, going towards the high pressure 1020. Again, that makes sense. Now, these specific air pressures are marking the air pressure at the center of the high or the center of the low. Just like you might see something like that on a topographic map showing the height of a mountain. Here it's the same idea. This high pressure has a pressure of 1022. Same idea though. And we can see we've got storm system moving in this way. And I just happened to notice out the window some light snow falling. And we are looking at some snow accumulation for tomorrow of maybe a couple of inches. So kind of unusual weather for April. And again, those really cold temperatures. I think I saw a low of 16 on Tuesday, if I remember right. So anyway, that brings us up to wind in the notes, and we'll stop here. We'll do wind another day.